Hello, brilliant and embodied souls. My name is Kim. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Spring has sprung. Lima wants to join in a celebration of renewal. That is exactly how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very renewed. I'm coming back into some vitality. When I look outside, I see all kinds of flowers bursting, the California poppies. I live in Northern California, so the California poppies are having their moment. Just a few days ago, they released their orange magic into the air. And I don't know, there's something just so joyous when I see their blooms specifically. I know that summer is close at hand, and it's time to enjoy the spring. And I love the spring in Northern California. I did not grow up in California. In fact, I'm a Midwesterner. And man, spring was not my jam when I was growing up in the Midwest. The slow crawl out of winter was real. And the weather would just be like a slap in the face, right? You get an ice storm. Everything was so wet and dreary and cold. I never especially liked spring for some of those reasons. Now in California, it's become one of my favorite seasons. There's a lushness, a verdant feeling that lingers here for much longer. So I am just soaking up all of that energy, and that's reflected in some of the decks that I am working with right now. I want to share them with all of you. Let's get into my number one deck. Well, my number one deck is always the Circle of Doors Tarot. That is my ride or die deck. She is always close at hand. Love that deck. But the other tarot deck that has really been calling my name is the Shewolf. This is a independently produced deck. I believe you can get it on Tarot Stack these days. The production value is off the charts. This deck has been around, so people have seen it. The reason it's calling to me right now are the pastels. We've got these gorgeous pinks and purples and light green. There's lots of flowers. There's a lot of vibrancy to this deck. That's why it's calling to me at the moment is, of course, the color palette, but more so the energy that radiates off of this deck. This deck is fierce. It is fire, and I'd say it's water. It's a fiery, watery deck, which feels really aligned with springtime energy for me. This deck is empowering. It is very creatively oriented. It wants me to embrace my inner creator. It wants me to step into my creative power. It loves to call me out on my analysis paralysis. This deck is a deck of action as opposed to quiet contemplation. This deck is very energizing. I feel energized when I look at it. This Eight of Wands is one of my favorite Eight of Wands. I love when a creator has paid attention to the Eight of Wands. The creator, Devony Amber Wolf, did so. Thank you. It's not an easy reader, and I mean that in two ways. Number one, there are things about this deck that are sometimes a little confusing, you know, so for example, like this Five of Swords doesn't immediately say Five of Swords to me. You do have to get into the astrological symbolism within this deck to truly appreciate its symbolic language. You'll see that a lot of the cards do have planetary associations going on, and knowing those planetary associations does help with interpreting these cards specifically. So there is a heady element to this deck. The other thing about this deck, the second thing that makes it a little challenging to read with, you know, is the messages themselves. It's not a comforting deck. It's not a deck that will hold your hand. It's a deck that wants you to grow up. It's a deck that believes in your ability to be fierce, creative. It's a very Queen of Wands sort of deck, you know, so that Queen of Wands energy feels very present. But again, I said it's fire and water. There's also a very strong psychic and intuitive feel to this deck. It reads quite intuitively. It feels very embodied. The gestures and body language of the folks depicted in this deck convey a lot of information. But again, like that's not an easy, smooth, peaceful energy. That's not what's going on in this deck. And I love working with this deck when I'm either in all of this energy that I'm describing, or I'm like, oh, I'm almost there. This deck can tip me into more of this fierceness, more of the radiance that each of us possesses. This deck helps me lean into that radiance. She's a beaut. She is just, I love this deck, and I'm so honored to have it in my collection. I'm gonna next talk about its buddy. I've got an Oracle deck that pairs really well, and I don't think I've seen this pairing talked about on TarotTube. I could be wrong. We've got the Visionary I-Ching cards. This is a mass market deck. We've got incredibly evocative and sensual landscape watercolors going on here. We've got the I-Ching, you know, earth above, thunder below information right here on the card. You've got the hexagram. The landscapes tell powerful elemental stories. That elemental story complements the Shewolf. Aesthetically, the black border, the pastel landscapes really tie in well aesthetically, and thematically there's a really nice synergy, not necessarily like the I-Ching with, say, a Thothish inspired deck, which the Shewolf is Thothish, but the I-Ching has always given me very strategic, logical, planful types of messages. This is a great deck if you're trying to strategize, come up with a plan. This deck is packed full of advice, and it's very direct about what to do. This morning I drew the conflicts card, and along with the other cards I drew, it was very clear what I need to do with regards to conflicts that may emerge today. I really need to alchemize my ability to think and be strategic with my heart, with my relational abilities. So this deck is just very clear. The images are gorgeous. Cardstock, cardboardy, yuck. The physical tactile experience with this deck is lackluster. And the cards are very big, so if you have small hands, be warned. Physically working with this deck is not especially enjoyable, but the messages are just so perfect. I mean, like, look at this. It's just, I get a lot of feels from this deck. So combined with the Shewolf, there's always a lot of dynamic energy to be read into. And again, it's the messages that I get with this combo are not light and love messages. They're not quiet and peaceful messages. They are like, buckle up, pack your bags, right? We've got to go. You're going right over here, girl. It's that kind of energy, which is perfect for the spring. At least for me right now. I'm just really feeling invigorated. I want to manifest things. I want to be working on things. There's this, again, resurgence of energy, and these two decks are perfect for that oomph that's happening. On a similar but slightly different track, we've got the Tarot of the Sepharoth. This deck is out of print. Heads up. We've got more Pip-esque. I mean, the Shewolf is not Pippy, you know, it's scenic-ish, a bit abstract at times. The Tarot of the Sepharoth, however, is a Pips with Personality deck. It has these gorgeous colors that just feel so spring to me. The lilacs, the greens, but we do get some vibrant yellows and reds. Yeah, it's this lilac color that is behind a lot of the pips. Here's another example. It feels so spring to me. The people in this deck are hilarious. Look at this emperor, right? He's got his beady little eyes on his power. Who does that remind us of? The people, like, look at look at this King of Wands. The people in this deck are hilarious. This guy and his mustache and his goatee, it cracks me up. It cracks me up. There's just something about the expressions, and again, there's a lot of vibrancy, a lot of energy packed within this deck. I do enjoy Pips with Personality. They allow me to be more expansive with my readings as opposed to incredibly detailed, scenic pips. And I'm coming to appreciate that expansiveness as my ability to read the tarot has grown. I do feel I get more latitude, and I appreciate that latitude when reading for myself and reading for others. This deck is packed with esoteric knowledge. There is a larger, more in-depth guidebook. I don't own that guidebook because, again, it's out of print. The little white book does give you a decent amount of information. the deck is very rooted in the Tree of Life. So the way that the majors are depicted, the way that the minors are depicted, creates a whole Tree of Life mural. Like if you were to lay out all the cards, you would be able to see all of the connections between the cards, which is a very fascinating concept. I'm not always drawn to these like deeply esoteric decks, but right now I'm feeling that energy actually. I've been getting more into the mystical aspects of the world's larger religions, you know, so Sufism, just learning a little bit more about that, Gnosticism, Kabbalah, you know, all of these sort of backroom aspects to major religions. I don't know, I've just wanted to expand my understanding of those mystical traditions through the eyes of the major religions of the world. This deck plays into that current interest of mine. If you have any resources that, you know, as I'm describing what I've been interested in, please drop them in the comments below. I love learning about cultures so that I can appreciate cultures that that I'm not from. It feels like being a global citizen is more important than ever right now. And I'm just really wanting to expand my horizons in that way. Okay, let's go to a oracle deck that actually works really well with Tarot of the Sepharoth, but many other decks. This is a incredibly versatile oracle deck, and that is the Sacred Creators Oracle by Chris Ann. If you've got a creative endeavor brewing, which I do, I will share more details in the future. This is a great deck to own. All of us who are creatives face doubts. We all face self-criticism, what's the word? We can compare ourselves to others, right? There's all of that imposter syndrome kind of thinking. These thought patterns and feelings are kryptonite to creatives. I have spent so long succumbing to doubt, self-criticism, self-judgment, and comparison, which has kept me from realizing so many of my creative goals. I am over that shit, and this deck is helping me move through all of those negative feedback loops that, again, are inevitable along the creative journey. This deck is such a creative cheerleader. Chris Ann is such an enthusiastic person. I follow her on Instagram. She just comes across as a really positive, caring, upbeat kind of person. That comes through in her decks. I only own the Light Seers Tarot and this deck, but both of them are just so vibrant, so committed to that light seer path, right? You can do it. You've got this. Keep going. That is the energy of this deck. And again, if you're working on some kind of project where you notice yourself doubting yourself, where you notice analysis paralysis, this could be a really great partner in crime to have. It's mass market. The guidebook is really sweet. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. And it goes with a lot of decks. It's incredibly versatile. And it's just really wanted to come out this spring for me. Okay, let's move on to kind of a similar, like a slightly similar energy, but different. We've got the Unfolding Path Tarot, also mass market. This feels incredibly spring to me, albeit a touch more muted. We've got more pastels and watercolor going on. You can sense a theme here with me. I am feeling this watercolor pigment kind of energy. Also, okay, Eight of Wands. This is a great Eight of Wands. Creators out there, please don't phone in the Eight of Wands. Pretty, please. This deck is a amazing reader. It is a RWS. I don't want to say clone. It has its own take on the cards, but it reads like a RWS deck. Ergo, I think a lot of people could just pick this up and you're off to the races. The people in this deck are just so emotive. If you're not into people-y decks, this isn't the deck for you. I just know the people in this deck. They are people I see down the street from where I live. They are friends. They are people I would want to meet up for a drink, or go grab a coffee with. I love the fashion in this deck. I mean, right? This King of Wands has got this amazing purple suit. I mean, hello. I just love, yeah, it's so emotive. I mean, like, hello, look at these backs. I mean, and then we've got lots and lots of diversity. We've got age diversity, body diversity, racial and sexual diversity. It's gorgeous. It wants to come forward. It's been wanting to come forward for readings as of late. I love taking this deck with me out and about. It's a mass market. I'm not worried about it getting messed up. I'll just replace it, I feel like it's great to have a really robust, inexpensive, easy reader that we can just take with us. And this deck has wanted to come with me out and about. It's having its moment right now. Okay. Also, look at the inside of this box. The star card. Oh my God. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's switch gears just a tiny bit to a oracle. I talked about this deck in my recent top 11 favorites. We've got the Abaton Keys. This deck is also pastel-ish. We've got these gorgeous borders. The keywords are really informative. The keywords and the art do a combined heavy lift. What I mean by that is some oracle decks, the art does the heavy lifting. Other oracle decks, it's actually the keywords that do the heavy lifting. This deck, it's a combo. The keywords and the art work really, really well together. The art is curated collage. It's not all over the place collage. I actually really dislike all over the place collage decks. They feel assaultive. Assaultive? Did I just make up that word? They feel assaulting to my eyes. I get overwhelmed and overstimulated. I have a few of those types of decks in my collection and they have a time and a place, but generally speaking, I prefer collage decks that have a point of view that's being offered in the collage. This deck has a very clear point of view. The guidebook, well, you don't need the guidebook to read with this oracle deck. The art and the keywords do a lot of heavy lifting. That's why I've been using it a lot. It's really wanted to come forward in readings because of the theme, which is reflected in this mighty little white book. This deck is very rooted in the healing journey. Abatons are healing temples, or were healing temples, that people would go to in ancient Greece in order to receive healing dreams or healing remedies and rituals from the attendants of those temples. So anybody on a healing journey, anybody dealing with chronic illness, this deck wants to come forward for. And my archetypal energies readings, there's been a theme emerging as of late. You know, there are people, like a lot of archetypal wounded healer types of energies coming through. And this deck has really, really played a big part in some of those readings that I've been doing lately. It's one of my favorites. It's proving to be a big part of my practice. As a reader, you know, personally, professionally, all of it. Yes. And I feel like when I do dip into the guidebook, I don't dip into the guidebook necessarily when I'm reading for others. But I will look at the guidebook when I'm reading for myself, and I've been learning a lot from the guidebook. There's a lot of reference to Greek philosophers, Greek drama, different Greek rituals that have been passed down through antiquity. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. We've got 2 more decks. Hang in there, folks. The last 2 are tarot decks, and they're really special decks. The Forgos Tarot. This deck was a early deck that I really, really bonded with. It was published in 2018. I came across it a couple of years after that. When I really began my tarot journey. I think I got it in 2020. We've got really unique takes on the pips. This deck has its own visual language that is very strong. The minors are in this kind of sketchy, the number cards are in this sketchy flavor. The court cards have been renamed and are more painterly. And then the majors are also more painterly. The deck very much goes its own way. It has a very unique visual language. This deck is incredibly dreamy. The aces are black and white. The knight cards are also black and white. So when you lay out the cards, you are immediately, when I work with this deck, I'm immediately hit with, is there a lot of robust energy coming from the majors and the courts? Or is this more of a mutable situation, a changeable situation, because we've got a lot of minors? There's just like funny stuff in this deck, right? Like this cat on this person's head, like what? So there's just a real whimsy to this deck. It's independently produced. I have heard rumblings. I follow the creator Carmen Sorrenti on Instagram. She posted a little while ago that she might do another edition of this deck. I am so here for it. I would buy it. I have a backup copy of this deck. It just is so powerful and evocative and whimsical and dreamy. I've said all of this. So why now in spring? Like, why is it calling to me right now? It is a very spring and summer deck. The freshness of the minors feels with the white space, it just feels like very new energy to me right now. Then we have these just beautiful painterly majors. This deck is poetic. This is a very poetic deck, and I'm feeling, because of one of the projects that I'm working on, there is poetry involved in that project. So this deck is just really stoking that poetic fire within me. I think this deck could easily be used as a summertime deck, right? This feels very summer to me. This is also maybe like late summer, but you know, this like these two wings cards, aka swords cards, you know, they feel very spring to me. So to me, this is an all-around year sort of deck, but the poetic essence is working really well for me right now. Our last deck, Remembering the Sweet Fool Tarot, by Trisha Murray. This is also independently produced. This to me is almost like sunsetting. I just recently got this deck. I had seen it and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if this is for me. I'm trying to get you up close. The images are, I have the pocket edition. That was the only edition that was available for purchase, which is fine. The pocket size is actually really handy. This feels a lot like late winter, early spring for me. So where the wheel of the year is at for me personally, like this deck is kind of waning. But you know, there's this like fresh greenery feel. There's also a lot of contrast between light and dark. There is still a lot of darkness within this deck, so it feels easily a winter deck, but again, you know, just late winter, early spring. It's a very liminal deck, so again, spring feels appropriate. We get a lot of fog here in Northern California, so there's a very foggy nature to this deck. The creator is from Scotland, and even though Scotland and Northern California don't have a lot in common, there is a lot of, again, like that fog and coastal. I live pretty close to the coast, so there is this damp feeling that is very available to me year round. So this deck is very of a place for me. Again, even though the creator comes from a totally different part of the world, this deck still speaks to where I live. It feels so nature-based and incredibly magical. I get this very eerie feeling when I work with this deck, but eerie nostalgia. And what I mean by that is when I was a little kid, I would create little miniatures, and I would gather little trinkets that I would use to tell stories. This deck is like that because the artist used these little bits and bobs. Like you can see it in this card. There's these little symbols, and the Sweet Fool is this little bird that appears throughout the deck. And again, like there's something very nostalgic and magical, and it is a quiet deck. So a lot of the other decks on this list are very energized and very commanding. This deck has a very different feel to it. And again, I think it was more of the energy I was feeling. I am moving into a very different energy, but because I just got this deck, I have wanted to play with it. I think it's going to really come forward when I am in a slightly different energetic place, but this deck is already wowing me. It's precious. It's a precious deck. Well, that does it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I hope you are having an amazing spring season. If you're slowly crawling out of winter, the Sweet Fool could be the deck for you. I am sending you all kinds of love. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video.